Well, a lot is thickening and more suspects are being thrown in, but really at this point, nothing is certain, and definitely after this episode, no secret is truly safe. Hey guys, Cameron for Guilt, Season 1, Episode 2, Hashtag American Psycho, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. Last week's premiere was very messy, and there was just a lot going on, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it set up a really interesting story, and this episode was a lot more cohesive than last week's, definitely. There wasn't nearly as much, there was a lot going on, but it was a lot easier to tell, it didn't just jump around from storyline to storyline. It stayed in a pretty linear narrative, basically focusing mainly on Grace and how we can't really trust her, and there's a lot. This episode really dealt with secrets, though, and how all these characters really have a lot of hidden past that we don't know about. There's a lot more things we found out about this episode that made some of the characters a lot more interesting. But let's just get into this episode because there is a lot to talk about. There was a lot we found out in this episode, and let's just get into it because right away we see this video of Grace and Molly, basically, supposedly when they were, best friends or whatever, and Grace has been blackmailed, we realize, by a girl who has an incriminating video of her, and the reason it's so bad is because at first it's fine, everything, but then the video actually shows Grace getting violent with Molly, and this obviously is a real problem because we know that Grace is, like, the prime suspect right now, and we realize, though, the reason why is that Molly was texting Grace's stepdad, James, and we know that we know that Grace and Natalie are not fond of James. They don't really think much, they don't want, Molly to have a relationship with James, obviously, and really Grace wanted Molly, really Grace, I think, Molly, really Grace wanted Molly to have nothing to do with James because of what was going on, and you get this sense, Grace says that they resolved it quickly, but just the way it's done, it's kind of suspicious, the way that they just had a fight out of nowhere, and this didn't seem like just a small conflict. The way that Grace was talking about it seemed very small, but it seemed like a legit fight. Like, these two were, clawing at each other. It really was a big fight, and we see, though, Natalie right away, she's not having any of James' supposed excuses. However, she thinks that Molly and him may have actually had a relationship, and basically, it's up to Stan to try to prove, how he can try to, not make Grace seem, like the person that isn't, make her seem innocent, because obviously, he is there to prove Grace's innocence. He's going to do it at any cost, and Stan, this episode is just so entertaining. I really did love his character. I think he's awesome in this episode, and like I said, Billy Zane here was really awesome. Now, like I said, this was more of a linear episode, but there was some really stupid things going on in this episode as well, such as what we find out with Bruno and Gwendolyn. Like I said, these are two characters we really didn't develop last week, and we do develop them more this week, but we have a really kind of stupid thing going on with them, because apparently Bruno and Gwendolyn are fooling around. I don't know if they're in an affair or whatever, but basically, it seems they're having sex, and Bruno says, they promise they won't do this again, but Gwendolyn's doing it anyway, so, alright, whatever, I don't really care. I don't really know why we need to find this out. It kind of just seemed like it was there to add some drama to their story. I get they want to develop their characters, but this just felt a little bit weird that they're just having sex or whatever. But basically, we realize that the police have hit a wall, and they have no real leads to go on. Besides Grace, they don't really know who else, and they're really at a crossroads here where they really don't know who else they could possibly get, and I thought that was definitely something I thought was very interesting. We do get to see more of Bruno and Gwendolyn, though, which I did like seeing. I like that we did see more of them in this episode. Gwendolyn especially, definitely you see a lot more of her. But as far as Bruno and Gwendolyn go, these two characters, they're not bad. I think I definitely do like the clashing between them, and they definitely gave them more to do in this episode. And like I said, I think they are very good actors and actresses. Just right now, I don't really think they're doing their characters as much justice as they should be. But apparently they have no real leads to go on besides Grace. They really don't know who else could be a suspect. But definitely more suspects come out in this next scene, which I definitely do want to talk about. We see Patrick, of course, who is Molly's brother. He gets his hands on Molly's Courtney Club necklace, but has no idea what it represents. Now, the Courtney Club, that is the sex club that we saw at the end of last week, and a lot of interesting things about that club that we find out in this episode, but he has no idea really what this means. We don't know if this is a crucial piece of information for the police, and why is Grace trying to hide is the big question. What is this really about? Why is she trying to hide it? I'm thinking it's because she doesn't want anyone to think she has Grace's things, because that immediately pins the blame on her, and especially because everyone seems to think she's a suspect, so she's trying to make herself not look like as much of a suspect as possible, and I think it definitely is very smart what she's doing there. So Stan deflects every attempt Natalie makes at finding another lawyer, makes it clear he is the best Grace is going to get, because Natalie basically doesn't want Stan to really be the lawyer. She's not really a fan of him, especially because of what he did to that one judge and everything. But I like he's saying, look, this is who you're stuck with. You can't really get anyone else. You're stuck with me. And again, like I said, just his banter and everything, I really do love. I love this character. Billy Zane is just killing it right now. And really, I mean, he's the one that's really stealing the show. He's the one, like I said, he in general is enough to carry the show. I was talking to people about the show, and they said that really Billy Zane is what makes the show. And really, I mean, he just carries every scene he's in. He's so good, and he's such a scene stealer kind of guy. Not to say the others are bad, it's just he is such a scene stealer that everyone else, no one really has, I think, the charisma that he really does have, and he really does do a great job in his scenes, and he did a great job in this episode as well. He really was awesome here, and, he really feels that he is the best that Grace is going to get, and he's going to make sure that he does everything in his power, though, to make Grace innocent. You really do see that he is sincere about that. He is going to try and make Grace innocent. I mean, whether it be on his own terms, because he also wants to try to frame other suspects, but I thought that was definitely very interesting. So, Professor Linley is then brought in for questioning over whether he had sexual relations with Molly, because as we know, this is the man that Stan is trying to frame, and you can see the professor, he's claiming that it was just a student-teacher, relationship. They were just student-teacher. There was nothing else going on. But, I don't know, this guy just seems really shady, not just because he has a beard and he looks the way he does, but he just seems kind of shady. The way that he's talking about what happened between him and Molly, you're not really sure what's going on there. However, he does vehemently deny these questions and let them take his DNA and fingerprints to try and prove his innocence. So, I don't know. I mean, there's something about this guy. Part of it I believe, part of it I don't. I'm not really sure right now. I can't really confirm if he's innocent, if he's not. I don't really know, I don't really know right now. I'll know probably more as the other episodes go on, but right now, I'm just not really sure, and we'll have to see what happens with that, so that's really interesting. So Pike is questioning Linley's wife, who is another cop there, Linley's wife, Beatrice, and he even breaks the news to her about all of the students her husband has been seeing. Linley, of course, the professor, he questions Linley's wife, Beatrice, and even breaks the news to her about all the students her husband's been seeing. And basically, we kind of get the sense that maybe, she didn't know. And really, it's really sad to know that this is going on, because obviously, if he's lying, his wife would have known, and basically I think it was very smart the way they did that, to let his wife know what's going on and everything. So basically they notify his wife, tell her what's going on, and then we get another really great twist with Grace that I really enjoyed. We find out that Grace has actually worked at the Courtenay Club too, we see, and basically there's a scene where Roz and Grace, which let me just say, Roz is a character that I don't really know why she needs to be here. I get that she's obviously Grace's friend, but right now all we're seeing is that she has this lesbian girl. I'm assuming she's like a girlfriend or whatever. The way she was acting, she seemed like a lesbian girlfriend, and she's talking to her. And this scene with her and Grace. Roz and Grace fall out after both suggesting that they were indirectly responsible for Molly's murder, and I get what they're saying here. I mean, in many ways they are, because of the fact that, Grace turned away. She could have maybe stopped what was happening from going on, but like I said, I don't think that they are the ones that are responsible. I think that they were involved somehow, but it wasn't just them. They definitely are not the only ones that did this. I mean, Molly's murder, it just doesn't seem like it could just be committed by two girls, definitely. And I know Gwendolyn said last week, never underestimate jealous girls. I know she said that, but despite all of that, I just don't really think that they could be possible, I don't really think that they could be the ones that could do this all on their own. It just doesn't seem possible to me that they are the ones that did this. But then we find out that Roz's boss from the Courtenay Club says she owes him 200,000 pounds after Kaylee said no to a client, so that's really bad, obviously. She owes him all this money. So Roz really, she's kind of fucked right now of what's going to happen there. Now, why exactly this matters, I don't really know. I don't really know why we're focusing so much on this club. This is the one thing I don't like, is that this club just isn't really interesting me right now. I'm going to say that definitely is the one thing that I'm not really interested. I get obviously there's ties to it, but I'm just not really interested right now. That's one of the things I just don't really care about as of right now, but we see Natalie's digging into James's claim that he was in Amsterdam when Molly was murdered, because remember, he claims that he was in Amsterdam, and she really believes that he wasn't, and they have this huge fallout, Molly and Natalie, which I thought was a very good conversation, because, Grace and Natalie, they have this really good conversation here, where Grace doesn't feel that James is as bad as he looks, and Natalie doesn't believe a word he says, and I do like that, again, you see that chemistry really well. They're really just trying to look out for each other. Even though they are so strongly against against it. You definitely do see both of their points. They're really just trying to look out for each other. You definitely get that sense here, and Natalie really doesn't believe anything that James is saying, and James, takes him out for lunch, and James is kind of a shady dude. I'm definitely going to say that. Just the way he acts, the way he carries himself, he just seems really off. Something about him, and he really just seemed like he could be the one that did it. And would it be kind of cool to see Giles from Buffy murder someone? Yeah, but I don't think he's the prime suspect. I really don't think he's the one to be, I don't think that Natalie's wrong in assuming that James didn't go to Amsterdam, because immediately she discovers that James was in London the night of Molly's murder, and because of that, it seems that there definitely is something off about that. Definitely he was in London, he was not in Amsterdam. She does confront him about it, and Natalie slyly tricks a worker from the embassy to give her James' passport records, which I thought was so well done, the way she did this. She goes to this guy from the embassy and says that her boyfriend, James, that he was like her boyfriend or whatever, was going on a trip. She asked for his passport records, and the way that she's kind of being a detective here, I thought was really well done, because she's not a detective, but she's acting like one. Remember, Natalie's a lawyer, but she obviously very well knows how to do this stuff. I really did like seeing that. I think they handled that really well here, and Natalie's a character that I'm really enjoying. Just how smart she is, I think, is really well done. And basically, like I said, I think the Grace and Natalie scene where they were very much against their father, it definitely does make sense. Grace feels that he isn't guilty, and Natalie feels he is guilty. I mean, totally understand what's going on there. And after much interrogation, James finally listed Natalie that he and Molly did in fact have an affair. There definitely was something going on there, and that really is a problem, because Natalie feels that right away makes James a huge suspect, and someone they definitely should be trying to someone they definitely should look onto as a suspect for Molly's murder. And I don't think she's wrong about that. I think definitely, especially that is a huge piece of evidence. That's very juicy stuff, and that's something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what ends up happening with that. But then we find out something even bigger going on, because James apparently, we know obviously he's the guy that's working with Stan, and he tells him that they have to find Molly's phone before anyone else does. So one of two things is going on here. One, James and Stan are actually working together, and Stan's actually trying to protect James. Or two, James really just wants to protect, Grace and everything. I kind of feel there's more going on. I feel Stan is actually kind of sketchy here. The way that James just went up to him and said, hey, maybe we need to find Molly's phone. Just the way he was talking to him, it seemed like these two are actually in cahoots, and they're actually working together. And the way that he demanded Stan do this, it seemed like really he's trying to make himself look innocent. So I really do feel there's definitely a lot more going on with James than we assumed. Now, to what extent, I don't really know, but it's just something about him I really do not trust whatsoever. The way he acts, I really don't think is, I really think there's something off there, and I thought that was definitely really interesting. However, it's too late, because Roz has already started searching through Molly's pictures, and we don't know why she did this, obviously. What are Roz's motives? That's really shady. The fact that she did that, definitely, I know I keep saying shady, but really a lot of these characters in the show, they're very shady, and the way that Roz just took her phone, I really don't trust Roz. I think one of the only reasons we're focusing her is because she could be a suspect, and really, as of right now, I think she definitely could be a big suspect. But then we found out some interesting stuff with Patrick. Apparently, Gwendolyn knows a lot of the things that Patrick has done. He has a criminal record, he really is known for being very erratic, he has a lot of breakdowns and things like that, and Gwendolyn's telling him to basically stay rash, to think rash, don't do anything irrational, definitely try to stay rash, even though, and that is a way that you react to death, definitely, but obviously Patrick does this a lot. She's saying, to not do anything stupid that could put him in jail, and I'm pretty sure that Gwendolyn and Patrick, it's not the first time that she's dealt with Patrick before. I'm pretty sure that Patrick is someone that has a criminal record. This is someone that she clearly does know, and that overall is really interesting, and the way that she knows Patrick, now, do I think that Patrick could be the one that killed Molly? No, I don't think that Patrick is a suspect. I really don't think he is. I think, really he's just saying that, look, I'm going to find out who did this, and whoever did it, I'm going to go after them, and I'm going to, I'm going to hurt them really badly. But Gwendolyn's telling him, you need to stay calm in this situation. This is a very tough situation, and you need to stay calm, which I did like seeing. I mean, I understand, yeah, he does need to stay calm. This is a very careful situation. He needs to keep it, very tight, and really, it's just, it's a very difficult situation what's going on here. The fact that this is public, the fact there's cameras anywhere, I mean, really anything he does could make him look suspicious. And even though he is Molly's brother, it automatically could make him a suspect, and he definitely needs to be careful about that. But also the fact that he has a criminal record, she clearly is trying to keep him out of jail as well. So I think that overall is really interesting. But then we get one of the best scenes of the episode where Stan is hilariously dismantling the girl. I think her name was Sabrina. I think her name was. Let me check real quick because Grace did say her name in the episode. So let me just check real quick to see what her name was because I can't remember. Like I said, Grace did say her name in the beginning. I just can't remember what it was. Let me see. Stephanie, yeah, Stephanie. He goes to confront Stephanie, and it's probably one of the best scenes of the episode. It's so entertaining. Like I said, I mean, Stan's a character, just really entertaining. He basically he dismantles the girls trying to blackmail Grace, retrieves a controversial video, and he's like, all right, here's some money. Use them when you need to. He's like, use it on condoms. I thought it was a hilarious scene. Love the way that was done, and the way he was able to retrieve the video, get it away from her. I mean, it just really shows how schemy of a guy Stan really is. But even though he is very funny, it really does make me think that there's something more going on with him and James. Just the way they acted in that scene, it didn't just seem like Stan's there to protect, Grace. It seems like there's definitely more going on there, and I don't really know what it is. So then we see something very interesting. We see Prince Theo was seen watching Molly's memorial from a distance, and we're really wondering how close these two were. Now, we know absolutely nothing about Prince Theo. We just know that we're seeing him, but we really know nothing about him. But then we get one of the most powerful scenes of the episode that really, I think, shows how great of an actress Daisy Head really is, and I think she's really proving herself in these two episodes. I actually read an article that said that they auditioned hundreds and hundreds of actresses, and Daisy Head just had something perfectly to her, and really, yeah, because in this scene, it seems very sincere with her at Molly's memorial, talking about how much she loved her, and what her relationship was like with her, and really that Molly was a great friend to her and everything, but also, it does seem kind of fake, the way she's crying, things like that, definitely, the way that her memorial is, it seems pretty real, but it also seems kind of staged, the way she's acting, and I think that was really well done. I think Daisy Head, it's not easy to play a character that every action she does is, there's a double meaning to, because really everything she does, you can't just take it at face value. Maybe if she says something one way, she might actually mean it in the other way, and she's covering it up in somehow. And that's something I think Guilt's doing really well, is that every character on the show really is shady, and you can't really trust anyone. And we see Gwendolyn really, for a second, does not believe anything about Grace's tears, thinks they're just an act, especially because of Grace slashing the tires. She says to Bruno that someone doesn't just slash tires like that, and then Bruno notices someone has put a disturbing photo taken through the window of Molly's room at the memorial, and it looks like it's from another building. So we're wondering if this could have been taken by her potential stalker, because we know there clearly was a guy that was stalking her, and we don't know what's going on there, so that's overall really interesting. And then we see Veena Patel, the story news reporter, exploits an opportunity to take photos of Grace laughing at Molly's memorial, and that's really interesting, the fact that Grace was laughing, because we saw her give that whole speech and everything, and then all of a sudden she's laughing. So, I mean, there are times at funerals where people might react in weird ways just because a person died, someone they were close to. A way to react is to laugh. When you really don't know how to handle a situation, some people might just awkwardly laugh. So there is that. But there's also the fact that she just gave that whole impassioned speech and then she's laughing. So that's really interesting. I don't really know how to read that. I don't really know if that's trying to say that Grace is a suspect or something's off about her, but definitely it does show that everything that Grace does, we can't just take it at face value, and I think that definitely is very interesting the way that was done there. And basically, from this photo, she is given the nickname of American Psycho because really, it seems like she's one way, but then she's another way, and everyone pretty much thinks of Grace as psycho. So this really has ruined her reputation. It's not going to be as easy for Stan to defend her, and I really think it puts Grace in a real situation, because she wants to be, obviously, she wants to look innocent, obviously, but I don't really know if that's going to work. But Daisy Head is just really killing it as Grace. She's really doing a great job, and coincidentally, Bruno discovers that Linley's fingerprints match with one of the crime scenes of another dead girl, so that's really interesting. So definitely there could be something more going on there, and definitely it seems like he's going to be brought back in for questioning. We don't know really what's going to happen with that. But then we see Kaylee, who is the girl that was with Roz, seems to have a new admirer in Prince Theo. I don't really care about these scenes. I don't really know why we're seeing them, to be honest. Why we keep seeing all these scenes of just Prince Theo in the sex clubs, not really doing much of anything for me. But Patrick then hunts down, and then we get to the ending of this episode, which is really huge. I mean, the way this episode ended really was crazy and really hints that things are about to get a lot more corrupt and a lot more intense. We see Patrick hunts down Linley, tried to force him to confess to Molly's murder because he feels that this is the guy that did it. And basically, before he can do that, Linley's wife arrives holding a rifle, and number one thing we learned, Linley's wife shockingly shot him in the head. Literally shot him in the head, so Linley's probably dead. And the other one thing we learned is that Patrick might not even be alive. So that is the way the episode ends. Just out of nowhere, she comes out, she shoots Linley in the head. I'm thinking that she didn't know that Linley was having an affair, and that's the way she reacted, but clearly there's a lot more going on with Linley's wife. I think she definitely could be a suspect, and I think we now have a brand new suspect that we never thought of before, but that is the way the episode ends. Let's talk about this episode overall, because there's a lot to talk about. Overall, guys, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought there were a few weird things, like the whole thing going on with Roz in the sex club. I don't care. I really don't. I don't know why they want me to care so much. I get that they were involved in the sex club, but I just don't really see what Prince Theo has anything to do with what's going on. I mean, we know literally nothing about this guy except he's in the sex club. And I'm sure we're going to find out more about him as the season goes on, but right now we know literally nothing about him. But Linley's wife, I really feel that now we saw Linley's wife shoot him in the head. This really makes her a suspect. If she can shoot her own husband in the head, she could have very well murdered Molly. So Linley's wife, if he was a new suspect, she definitely could be a person that killed Molly. The whole thing going on with Grace laughing. Again, we don't know why Grace was laughing. We don't know the context of it. I don't think Grace even said what the context of it was. I think it definitely is very interesting what's going on there. Not much with Luke in this episode, so I can't really say that Luke is a suspect. I think he still is, just he's a shady guy, but Luke really didn't have much to do in this episode, unfortunately, which sucks, because like I said, I think Luke is, last week it seemed like he was the one, but now it seems like Linley's wife could be possibly the one that did it. Patrick as well, he really is a guy you gotta watch out for, because he did the complete opposite of what Gwendolyn told him exactly not to do, so that's very interesting. Other girl, I'm sure we're going to find out more about her, but who is this other dead girl at the fingerprints match is something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going on with that, and why did the fingerprints match so well. That definitely is going to be really interesting. What is the picture that Bruno found? What is the context of that picture? I mean, Bruno said that obviously was taken through a window of Molly's room at the memorial and had to be from another building, so clearly some guy was stalking her. We don't know who this was, but that's going to be very interesting as well as to what's going on with that. As far as Stan goes, like I said, I really think that Stan James, there's just something more going on there, and I really don't trust James at all at this point. Just the way he's talking to Stan really just doesn't seem like I'm here to protect, my stepdaughter. It doesn't really seem like it's that. It seems like there's a lot more going on with that. I don't know exactly what is going on, but definitely seems like there's more going on there. Why did Roz take, Molly's pictures? That's definitely very interesting. Why did he take Molly's phone? What is she hiding behind Molly's phone? Roz, to me, definitely seems like she could be a suspect. I will say Prince Theo, the only thing about him is why did he show up to Molly's funeral? What is the kind of relationship they had? What really happened there? Because that's very interesting as well. As far as the whole thing with James goes, why is he lying to them about where he was? I think that really makes him very shady about what's going on there. And then the conversation that Roz and Grace had about, what was going on with Molly, I really do feel that they aren't directly involved, but they definitely know something that's going on. There's definitely more going on than we think, and I think that definitely is going to be very interesting as well. The Gwendolyn and Bruno, plot, I don't really care about as much. The whole love affair thing, I hope we just get more into that, because I want to see more about these characters than just them having sex. They need to do a little bit more than that. I mean, I get that there's just a random sex scene, but they need to do a little bit more than just these two fooling around. There needs to be more going on there than that, definitely. But overall, guys, I thought this episode was a lot better than the first one. I thought it was a lot easier to focus on. There were a couple things that were just a little bit head-scratching, but overall, I am enjoying the show. I think it's really interesting overall. I think the mystery we have here is really great, and I like that really everyone in the show, except for Natalie, Natalie's the only one, and, Bruno and Gwendolyn as well. I don't think that they're suspects either. But Gwendolyn, Bruno, and Natalie, those are the only ones that aren't suspects. Everyone else, really, anyone else, just, you can't really trust anyone. And really, just pick any character on the show. You really could come with an argument for why they could be a suspect. And I think it's something the show is doing really well. Let me know what you guys think of the show. Love to hear your thoughts on it. What you think of this episode. And we'll see you guys in the next one, which will be for tonight's episode of Unreal, which obviously I cannot wait for. I have been loving this season. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.